Hey you guys, so I have a little talking video planned for today, and it's all thanks to you guys because I was immensely inspired by your comments on our last video where we talked about if we are in control or not. So yeah, I want you guys to get comfortable, maybe grab a little drink or a little snack, but please grab a notebook to take some notes because I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and comments after this one as well. So when I was reading your guys' comments, one in particular stood out to me, and it was about the need to escape and wanting to escape. And I took out my notebook because a merry-go-round popped into my head. And I was like, this is a great metaphor. This is a great topic of conversation. So I titled this one, The Merry-Go-Round of Escapes. And I think it's really interesting. So first, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. I kind of wanted to talk about what is an escape, right? And I wrote down, in my opinion, that an escape is a source of relief. It is taking a break and parting from our personal reality. And this can be conscious or unconscious. But I think in retrospect, what we're looking for is a safe space, a little safe haven, you know, maybe a little corner or a little nook in the forest that, you know, we feel safe and we feel like everything is okay. It's not necessarily meaning we want to escape this whole world and leave it behind, but like I said, it might just be us needing to take a little break. So I wrote down a list of things that we might be trying to escape from. So if you want to pause this and write down a couple of the things that you might find yourself trying to escape, go ahead and maybe we can see if, again, our lists are the same. But my list of things that we might be trying to escape from is one, of course, reality. Two is our thoughts, our family, our emotions, a sense of loneliness, anxiety, financial stress, the past, and the future. So to me personally, those are things that I find myself wanting to escape from. My thoughts are crazy, family can be crazy, reality, my emotions because of all this stuff is crazy. I'm reminded of the past, I'm stressed out about the future. Like, I could probably write a whole bunch of more things that I find myself wanting to escape from. And I think what we're also doing is we're looking for something or someone to help us, to love us, to care for us, to nurture us, to teach us, to hold our hand, to wipe our tears, to tell us that everything's going to be okay. But as I mentioned, we want something or someone to be that safe ground for us. The reality we find ourselves in might not be comforting, it might not be inspirational, it might not be what we need to function through. So we find ourselves just being like, you know what, I want to turn my back and I want to walk away from this for a second. And I think that's what it is. I think we're wanting somebody to just show us a way, or to even help create a safe haven for us. Here's where my example of a merry-go-round comes in place, all right? I think that throughout life, we are on this crazy ride, right? And it can be look just like a merry-go-round. There's all these little horses, and it's so funny because I just got this for makeup the other day, and there's a merry-go-round on it. So picture all these horses, right? And this merry-go-round is consistently spinning. We're spinning, yeah. We're always spinning, right? But I think that each one of these horses is a means of an escape, all right? So here's my example of all the different types of horses that we might find on our personal merry-go-round. We might have a horse that is a parent or guardian, a sibling, a therapist or a psychologist or a doctor. One of our horses might be medications, an online forum, social media. So one of our horses might be a certain person that we watch all the time. I might be a horse on your ride. A certain page, say you follow a certain inspirational Instagram page, or your Pinterest page is filled with all of this positivity and stuff like that, right? That could be one of your horses as well. A life coach might be a horse, you know, so that kind of goes hand in hand with a therapist too. But there could also be life coaches online, which I'll get further into. I think a major horse of ours is a relationship or just people that we might be talking to in general, right? It could be a friend, a teacher, meaning a counselor, or maybe a whole classroom full of kids could be one of our horses that we rely on as an escape. drugs, drinking, and going out. Animals could also be an escape. And another horse I wrote down is an imitation horse. And I want to come back to the notion of an imitation horse. So all of these little horses that we find ourselves on our merry-go-round of life, right, are all different forms of an escape, right? At least in my opinion. So our parents are a guardian. My mother was literally my safe haven. So I wouldn't be mad if that was the only horse on my ride my whole life, you know? I would not mind. So a therapist might be somebody that is our lifelong best friend, somebody we really confide in. But if it's not for that horse, we wouldn't have that means of expression or, like I said, escape. We wouldn't have a little room to go in and just be like, yo, I can tell you everything and not necessarily have to worry. Social media pages, I think, is a huge, huge horse. I think that we need to understand and kind of take note of. And I think that we want to latch onto something that feels like home to us. We want to somebody we can resonate with. I just think that that can be a huge horse, and that we don't necessarily understand that that is a ride we take on our journey of the merry-go-round, that single horse we might hop on and not really understand that it's not as beneficial as we think. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is the whole notion of all of these horses on our merry-go-round and how they affect us. And if we don't have awareness of our environment that we're around, the ride that we're on, we can fall into a spiral, and we might not understand that we got a whole stampede of horses behind us that we tried to use as a means of escaping, and it's not working. Nothing's happening. We're not progressing anywhere. The reason why I put imitation as one of the horses on my merry-go-round personally is because we might have a best friend, we might have a partner, we might have a coworker, or just somebody that we look up to, right? That we're really inspired by. They're our biggest influence out there, right? I think that some of us might not understand that their journey on their merry-go-round of life is completely different than ours. And if we spend our life trying to imitate the ride they're on, or imitate or try to find a horse that they're on, we're ultimately kind of staying stuck. Other people's ride aren't ours to understand. It's not ours to dissect. Their horses aren't ours to even groom or tend to. And I think that when we find ourselves imitating somebody else, and this kind of goes into that, I didn't really write it down in my notes because I wasn't sure how to incorporate it, but I think that this imitation horse can also be a fake it or make it type horse. I think that if we're not just genuine with our original self, then we start hindering our progress, and we stop our ride because we completely hopped off our horse to go jump on somebody else's, hoping that their means of an escape will heal us. And in reality, I think we can all know that when we have ever been in a sticky situation, a difficult time, and we've tried to escape, the whole notion of escaping, it wasn't what we ultimately needed. We have to be careful, because if we're on a merry-go-round that already needs to be re-evaluated, like a deck of cards sometimes needs to be shuffled up and kind of put back into place. If we don't realize that we need to reevaluate our horse and the ride we're on, and we just jump off and go start a whole new one, we find a whole nother one, or we jump onto our best friend's merry-go-round, now we're in foreign territory, on a foreign vehicle, you know, and it's just, we have to be careful, because jumping onto a foreign one, onto a whole ride that isn't ours, it's really just going to keep us stuck, and we might feel like we're just walking through mud, and the horse you're on is going to be like, I don't know you, so I might buck you off, you know? I think that the reason why I wanted to talk about the imitation horse differently than the life coaches and the relationship and the drugs is because that might be a huge thing that we're unconscious of. That might be a horse that we're not totally aware of, because, you know, there is this weird fake it till you make it, or just like pretend you're this confident person and you will become confident. But I think that's completely trying to band-aid over a whole bunch of work we really need to focus on, you know, that we're not helping ourselves when we imitate somebody else, when we act like somebody else, when we try to fake the confidence somebody else has. Yeah, I just think that's a very dangerous horse to jump onto when we already have a million other horses around us on our merry-go-round that are ultimately stuck there. You know what I mean? Like, if you've ever been on a merry-go-round, that horse might go up and down, but it's stuck there. You can jump off and get onto another one, but those horses isn't your escape off the ride. And that's kind of what I'm trying to explain, is that we might find ourselves trying to find all of these big sources of relief, and we just jump onto all these different horses. We jump onto our parents, a sibling, a therapist, medications. If the medication isn't working, we go to a relationship. If the relationship isn't working, we go to a friend, right? We're consistently switching horses on our ride, you know? One thing that also popped into my head while I was thinking of this merry-go-round scenario, I was like, Sarah, you can't just forget the world that's outside of the merry-go-round, you know? So when you go to a festival or an amusement park and you hop onto a merry-go-round, your mom and dad or your friends that didn't want to get on the ride, they're still standing behind the gate, right? They're still standing and observing. So it might be a grandparent who is too old to hop onto the ride. They're like, girl, I will fall and slip off and bust my booty. I'm not going to be on the ride. I'm just going to watch from afar. We have to keep in mind that while we are on a crazy ride, there are still spectators. And I think that can also humble us a little bit into understanding that, like, yes, we can be the star of our own show. Yes, we can put ourselves onto a pedestal, but there are still other people watching us. That might be for influence. That might be for entertainment. It might be for their own personal sort of escape. It might just be because they're there to protect you, right? That's what our parents do. They take us somewhere fun and crazy and they let us ride on a ride, but they're always on the outskirts, right? They're always there when you hop off the ride to ask you how it went. Yo, what was that? How was that? Was that cool? Now, don't get me wrong. Like, in my situation, I won't have that when I hop off my ride. And that's also something I want us to kind of expect, is that this outside circle that's watching the merry-go-round, it can be filled with very, very important people. Like I had mentioned, it might be grandparents. It might be older people. It might be the guy who cleans up the trash on the ground that falls off of the ride, right? He has nothing to do with us. We never really talk to him, but he's still there. He still maintains the place, right? We still have the operator of the whole ride itself. You know, we might never see their face. We may never shake their hand, but there's still somebody in control of the ride itself, you know? And I think that is so interesting to think about. And I think that's something that we can also look forward to in our life. We're so young, you guys. We're out here trying to escape a crazy world. And I think it's because we don't really understand it and we don't know how to cope and explore and adventure through it, right? So we're using all these different forms of escape to help teach us what we need, right? We're trying to gather all the information we can and, you know, present our mind with a nice picture, a good soul, body, and mind to vibrate through, right? So I think that if we keep in mind that this ride feels so crazy, it feels really scary. We jump off and we look to our left and we're like, oh, yep, there's my best friend. Let me just jump on you. Like, I don't want to think about this stuff. If we keep in mind that there will become a day where our bodies can't jump up on a horse anymore, you know? What if we're at an age where we're 80 years old and we need a hip replacement? Say our eyesight isn't the best anymore because we've ridden the ride for so long that our horse, our body, our means, like our little portal, it won't be able to enjoy the ride anymore. And that's kind of the beauty of life, is it's this huge roller coaster, but at the end, you know, you're sitting with all the wisdom you gained. You sit back and you think, dang, look at all the horses on my ride. And I finally made it to the time of my life where I'm a spectator. That might happen when you have your own children, right? You might realize, like, dang, I'm gonna hop off my horse for a second, like put them in the manger, but I gotta make sure my kids are safe on their ride. I gotta make sure their horses are fed because they can't tend to them yet. Maybe they're not smart enough to guide a horse or teach a horse how to stop, turn, all of that stuff, right? We might be watching our sibling, you know? We might come to a point where we're just an old person who people watches. You know, those folks who just go on walks in the mall and they are the ones watching all of us be crazy, be spinning and riding on all of these horses. And they're sitting there admiring the beauty and the ability for all of us to still have that in us. I think that's beautiful, you know? I think it's so crazy for me to think that all of my horses that I have on my ride have helped me. They've guided me. But there's going to be one day where I'm such an old woman that my journey is almost over, you know? It might be when I'm 100 years old, but I stand back and I look and I see, dang, that was a wild ride. My life was one cool ride. But it comes down to understanding that these horses we see on the merry-go-round are really our means of escaping the reality we find ourselves in, the reality that surrounds us, you know? And I think understanding this little metaphor of just, yo, we're on this merry-go-round of escapes, it kind of helps us understand like, oh, now I understand why I am the way I am in my relationship. I'm seeing it as a means of an escape, a safe haven. I'm looking for somebody to love and care for me, right? Right? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a little escape. So as I had said, we'll get to that journey where we no longer are able to ride the ride. Say we get too dizzy because the ride just spins so fast. It's on a fast pace that we no longer need to be a part of anymore. All of these people, the spectators, the parents, the janitor, the maintenance man, these show us a positive and optimistic future, right? It just shows us that one day, you know, we won't feel the need to escape. We're just going to be sitting back and, you know, thinking about the crazy life we just experienced. And the reason why I said that the people off of the ride, the guy who's in control, the one who picks up after all of us, the one, you know, the ones who just sit to watch and smile. Have you ever done that too? You just see a kid having a fun time on a ride, so you just sit and you just smile and you're just like, wow, that's so cool. But they're literally in their own world, on their own ride, experiencing their own reality. And we're just an onlooker, a passerby. I think it's the onlookers and the passerbys that can teach us so much. It shows us that with time and wisdom, we'll have a different perspective to look through. We will no longer feel the need to jump on all these multiple horses, right? We won't even feel the need to be on the ride any longer. I just think that is so interesting. We have to enjoy it while we can, because soon we'll become one of the onlookers and the passerbyers. And, you know, I think that's when we become the most humbled. So we have to enjoy the craziness, the wild ride, the wild horses that we might find upon our merry-go-round, and we're like, yo, how did you get here? How did I bring you here? What do I have to learn from you? I think when we see our means of escaping as a means of a teacher, it can teach us something. It can help show us and open our eyes to something that we might need to work on, work towards, work through, instead of seeing it as an escape. I think that's amazing. It's literally, instead of looking at a black hole that's waiting to suck you in because that's what we're expecting, like, hey, I'm trying to escape, just take me. Sometimes we might not expect it to be all bunnies and ducks and a safe haven. We just want to we just want to escape. I think when we see that these horses can offer us so much more of a valuable lesson than just being an escape, we'll start learning more. We'll start using these horses as a tool, you know, as opposed to something that's just stuck with us, hindering our progress, right? And another thing that I need you to understand is your merry-go-round is not your friend's merry-go-round, it's not your mom's merry-go-round, it's not your sister's merry-go-round, it's not your brother's merry-go-round, and it's not your boyfriend or girlfriend's merry-go-round. It is your unique merry-go-round. It is so important for us to be okay with the circle of life. And I think it's awareness of our horses, of our different means of escape, our awareness of the merry-go-round itself, that releases our grasp of needing to escape, of that just tension of holding on to even the horse itself, right? Of needing to find that escape button. It's awareness of our surroundings, of our environment. It's awareness of the horses and how they're affecting us, how they're impacting us. And we also have to be aware of the horses we're following. Awareness of our inner narrative while we're on our horse, and awareness of the expectations we have of both the present and the future. On this merry-go-round, everything has to be pure for us in order for the circle to keep spinning, for it to not get jammed, for it not to get gunky and stuck, and now the ride just becomes slow and soon comes to a halt. So our air, our water, our food, we need to be clean and pure. And another thing that came to mind was that we have to be okay walking barefoot. I want the horses that are around us, I want those hoofs on those horses to be an inspiration for how we want the calluses on our feet to be. We need to have calluses as strong as horse feet. Because think about it. These horses are carrying us on their backs, right? In circles over and over until the end of time. What happens when we have to get off of the horse, you know? Because I've had that happen. One time I jumped onto my merry-go-round and literally my mom and dad horse, they weren't there anymore. I don't know what happened. They literally got a mind of their own and they left the ride, right? We also have to be ready for that. We have to be ready to walk barefoot when the time comes, because like I said, we can't always control what our horses on our ride are doing, because like I said, they're their own thing. Where teachers are still a teacher, you know, a therapist is still its own person, our sibling is still their own person. So when one of our horses might need to go journey and be by themselves and say, like I said, part with us forever, we need to be okay walking barefoot just for a little bit, because you never know. If we walk through a tough spot on our merry-go-round, we might stumble upon a brand new horse that can offer us something new to learn from, right? It might be a new friend or a new sport, a new book, a new person you just found on YouTube, you know? But you have to be okay walking by yourself for a little bit. So if you're just jumping from one horse to another horse to another horse, your feet are going to be as soft as a baby's bottom. And babies cry because it gets rashed easily, it hurts. Yeah, we can't climb mountains with baby feet. So understanding that this ride, merry-go-round, will also require us to be walking by ourselves for a little bit. Even if it's just a small little path from one horse to the next horse, it's still that time that will count. And it's that time that's also very, very important, because we're not at the point of our journey where we're off the ride yet. Right? So we're not the old woman who can just sit and take a sigh of relief and be like, oh, I did it. No, you're now barefoot walking through a crazy tundra. And to have the strength to do that, it's very powerful, okay? So it's amazing to be able to ride these horses, okay? Because they will help navigate us and they will help teach us a lot of things, but we still have ourselves at the end of the day. Those horses are not us. We weren't born with that horse. We were born by ourselves. And like I said, soon when the ride comes, we'll walk off the ride by ourselves. But I think it's that understanding we need to have strong feet and be able to step on some stones and not break our bones. So it's also okay to walk next to our horses. We don't always have to ride them and break their backs. We don't have to turn them into a pack mule, you know? We can pat them on their side and say, yo, you're doing a great job holding me through this freaking life. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could have told my dad that. Like, you know what? Thank you, because I'm sure I broke your back. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially. It was hard. And I wish I would have understood while I still had my horse, that was my father, that I can take a step off and thank them and show them the appreciation. Because like I said, then that will give me a whole new way of thinking and moving, because I understand how much this horse does for me, you know, both the good, the bad, the ugly, no matter what, they're there for us. And I think that is magical for us to think. If we look at our escapes through a different lens, we will learn more, I promise you. So it is okay to walk next to them, to skip with them, to gallop with them, you know, feel the freedom too, feel the air between your toes and the moss between your toes. And again, with the imitation horse, it's okay to follow the path less followed, right? I promise, it's okay. And another thing I put on in my notes is that it is really hard to ride a horse and hold a phone, okay? It's okay to put that phone down. It's okay to really, really innately be by yourself. So, yeah, I just think that it is also as important for us being strong barefooted. It's okay for us to turn off the phone and enjoy the ride by ourselves, you know? It's cool to post about it on social media and stuff like that, but I think it's really important for us to be able to just enjoy the ride, you know? We only get to experience this life once, this merry-go-round once. It can be wild, crazy, and hectic, but I think that's also the beauty of it all. We only get to experience this once, so, you know, soak up it while we can. And I'm telling you, that's all the pain, all the beauty, all the people, all the horses, everything, the flowers, the nature, we only get to experience it once. So, yeah, the all of this reality, I think, yeah. Once we realize the beauty within the all of this reality, our escapes become more beautiful, and we might not even have to see them as escapes anymore, you know? And that's what my main message is that what starts as an escape can ultimately be transformed into a tool, into a source of wisdom, into something that, as I said, can teach you so much. One last thing before I kind of start wrapping this up is that it's odd to think that we might be on the wrong horse, you know? Even more strange, it's even more strange to then expect the next horse we hop on to be our cure, right? Because as I had said, some of our horses can be a parent, a guardian, a sibling, a medication. If we feel that the medication isn't working, we realize we're on the wrong horse and we jump off, and because that's also the beauty of life, is you can jump off the horse. That is all in our control, right? We have control of that. So if we decide that we look down and we're just like, you know what? This isn't meant for me. Maybe it worked for somebody else. Maybe it was just something that we wanted to try, but we've noticed that we never parted from it, but it hasn't benefited us. So once we part from it, it's really silly to then all of a sudden think that the very next thing we hit is going to be it, right? So the next horse you run into, you might bump into a therapist. It's silly to jump onto the back of that horse and expect the ride to just be done and you're into the sun, under the rainbows, and that's it. Because like I said, we're looking for that cure, that hope, that love, that everything's going to be okay. Show me the path. We're literally expecting our horses to show us the path. But remember, the crazy part about some of our horses is they're literally pulled in. They're steeled. They're in. They're stuck. They're a part of the journey, but they're there. So horses we're not meant to take them everywhere, right? That's why I think it's so beautiful to be able to hop off of the horse and experience life by yourself, right? So we just have to be careful with understanding that, one, that doesn't mean we just give up on the notion of horses, because you never know. A golden horse might be waiting for you, right? But you have to hop off the one you're on now. And it's being okay with that. It's being okay with almost the unknown of the next adventure, because that's what an escape is ultimately. You're escaping reality, but you're going into an unknown world, an unknown territory, because you're escaping what is now currently normal. What is the word? It's become semi-permanent for you, right? It's your reality and your environment. This is why I think it is so important for us to understand that the horse we find ourselves upon is a tool. It is a resource. It is not a fix. I think understanding that a tool, if you use a tool till its wit's end, like think of a pencil, right? You have a marvelous thing. You have all the thoughts in the world, or you want to draw something spectacular. That tool is your one resource, right? Say you don't have a backup. If you just use that till its wit's end, you won't have anything left to use, right? What happens if we put that pencil down and saw, oh, you are just a tool. You are just a resource that I can create with. There's colored pencils and crayons over there, so why would we use all the juice out of the one resource that we have, right? Or the one that we really care about. Us being able to understand that this is just a tool and not a permanent, it's not a part of us, right? We will survive without it. I think that awareness welcomes us to step off that horse and have a small part. Because have you guys ever noticed that, like when you're around somebody all the time, even like your parents, and you finally take a break, you finally go on a vacation for like a week, but like your second day gone, you're like, Jesus, now I see what it's like not being around my mom, and I miss her like crazy. Or say your partner, you're like, damn, they've been on a road trip for a little bit, and like me not being around them and seeing how beneficial they are, how much they help me and make me feel happy. You know, it gives you, it forces you to see reality for what it really is, right? Because if you're just on the horse the whole time, that's one source of perception. You got to get off the horse and then see the world for what it really is, because you were just being carried, you were being piggybacked, right? So if we see that that is not our fix and it's not our cure, and we can hop off of it, I just think that offers us a whole new perspective to see, right? And once we hop off, we can see that the merry-go-round is still spinning, right? The journey isn't ending just because we want it to. So I think that's also something that's funny, is a lot of us might feel like, damn, my life is going nowhere. I have nothing to look forward to. My life isn't moving anywhere. I'm just stuck. I think we might just be stuck on the wrong horse. So like I said, if we jump off that horse and see that the ride is still spinning and it's still going, I don't know, I just think that can open our eyes to see that there's more to life than what we make it, you know? The ride is still continue regardless of the horse. So I think that's also beautiful. Regardless of the horse you're on. Like I said, one might be like you've been in a really long relationship and then it ended and you're like, oh my God, my life will never continue. The ride is still spinning, and the ride is not dictated and the ride isn't controlled by the single horse. Remember I told you, like, there's a guy way over like on the other side of the ride who controls the ride, but you're so busy you don't really see him ever. You might not ever like make eye contact with him, but you know he's there, right? That's what helps the ride still spin. So for us to understand that once we hop off the horse that we may be addicted to, we're just really compelled to be with, and see the ride is still going, or that horse might just walk away, then we'll be like, oh, this isn't as serious and intense as I thought it was. Like, I don't have to rely on this horse the way I truly thought I needed to. Like, I can rely on myself, right? When we jump off of that horse, we can feel oneness with ourselves and realize that, yeah, it's okay to journey alone. It's okay to hop on a horse to try to help us, but ultimately that horse is a tool, you know? The horses will always be there. That's something else to just keep some weight off of your shoulders is that the horses are not going anywhere. They will always be there for you. They will always be there to carry you. They will always. And sometimes the horse is only meant to take us where we need, and then they part ways with us and go on their own journey. This is okay too. Other times, dude, a horse might walk next to us our whole entire life, right? Our whole entire life. So it's being okay with all the different possibilities, the endless possibilities of this crazy matrix we find ourselves in. My examples of the horses was that, like, our parents, they might not be with us our whole life. That's a horse that we're gonna eventually part ways with no matter what. But a horse that might be next to us our whole life could be a best friend or a lifelong partner until the time comes, you know? And I wrote down in all capital letters that the key is to understand the separation and the independence, okay? We're completely separate and independent from the horse. We're completely and it's separate from the ride, right? But it's using those two extremely useful resources that can literally, it can change if we're going to go from 0 to 100 really fast, if that makes sense, right? Because if we pretend that the ride isn't there, we ignore all these horses and we only rely on ourselves as a teacher, that's really hard, right? That's like, we can't teach ourselves just a random language, right? Sometimes you need help to help learning different things. So I just think it's beautiful to understand that we are all spinning like crazy on our own ride. We are all jumping from horse to horse and ultimately just trying to learn how to navigate through this crazy journey. And I think once we see our means of escapes as a horse on a merry-go-round, it kind of just like me writing this 2-3 pages of notes, I was like, dang, that makes a lot of sense, you know? I've used a whole bunch of horses on my merry-go-round as a means of trying to get somebody or something to help me, cure me, guide me, show me what to do, but I didn't see them as a tool, right? I had too high of expectations and too little awareness. And I think a lack of that is what makes us feel kind of stuck and confused. Imagine, this is, okay, so this is all personal preference, okay? So I personally think when I see people talking to multiple people at once, you are trying to grab the reins of 5 different horses, right? And walk them all at once and think they're not gonna like bump into each other or be annoyed with the strides, the different strides each one has. So I wanted to also put this into perspective, is that if you find yourself being somebody who has a lot of horses on their side, meaning, like I said, you're talking to multiple people, and this is meaning like intimately, if, you know, that is a sign that we really need to be alone. So riding multiple horses at once is that is a deep no-no. So I really want that to also be something that can be in the back of anybody's mind. That just relationships and drugs, certain horses can really distort reality. So talking to multiple horses is a distortion, in my opinion, on reality. Drugs and drinking and going out distorts the reality, and it makes the ride feel like something it's not. So I wrote that down. I forgot to add that, but it takes away time, and we don't have a lot of time, right? They say time is of the essence, but in reality, this world is fixed by time. That's why we're aging, right? So gaining awareness of the different horses we have on our ride, if we need to part ways with that horse, if we need to jump off and jump onto a next one, I think that is where a huge new journey begins, right? I just think that this is a nice way to kind of open our eyes to the different horses and forms of escapes that we have, why we might have them, and if it's beneficial for us to keep carrying them forth. Because like I said, ultimately, we are in control. So it's up to us if we want to start seeing the results of new horses on our ride. So or even getting to know a horse that you might already have on your ride. So like I said, some of us might not be as close to our family or our friends or maybe like a loved one or a guardian as we could be. So if we learn more about the horse, we might be like, dang, I like you. You could help. We could be a team. Or you might be like, dang, if I would have known this, I may have not jumped on you to begin with. So yes, awareness of it all is really what the heck is key. But I think awareness of the power and independence we carry on our ride is just life-changing. So yeah, you guys, that is all that I have in my notes for today. As I said, one of your guys' comments really just made me think of like, what is this that we're escaping from and why? And then I was like, oh my God, this is literally like a merry-go-round, a merry-go-round of escapes. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video, that you liked it. I hope I kind of stayed on track a little bit. I didn't really, I kind of came up with this concept just, while I was literally listening to some beautiful music and taking some notes. And I was like, you know what? We're going to make this into a YouTube video. So that is all I have to talk about, my friends, with the merry-go-round of escapes. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If you would like to talk about any of your escapes, or maybe a time where you realized you were on the wrong horse or following the wrong horse, yeah, let us know in the comments, because I think the more we share about the merry-go-round we find ourselves on, we won't feel so alone. I was gonna say something else too. I also think that this could be a good video for future topics, like say we want to go deeper into what it's like to part with a horse, one of our horses, because it's ultimately like parting or losing somebody that we love, or it's entering into a whole new just way of living. So if you heard anything in this video and was like, oh, let's talk about this, or just like sparked anything in your mind that you would like to hear my thoughts on or anything, let me know. And as always, I really, 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 really love your comments, you guys. I don't think you quite understand that I don't make videos for myself. I make them for you guys, and I love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. And I mean your thoughts and opinions, not just, oh, Sarah, I like your makeup, or like, like I want to know more stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of remind you guys that my channel, I have wanted to be not an escape, but a tool, a literal, like I'm saying, a horse for you to come and learn things from, to find helpful tips and bits of information. And so it helps me help you guys when you talk to me. And I'm not gonna lie, we've been a little bit like not one-on-one as we should be. So yes, I just want to remind you guys to please don't feel afraid. If you've never left a comment before, let this be the first time you leave a comment. But yeah, I really want to just spark some more conversations and just human interaction, right? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to your thoughts. And I just wanted to thank you again, because if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't have thought of this video, taken the notes for this video. So it truly is you guys who feeds me the inspiration, right? So yeah, thank you, and I will see you later. Bye.